Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a raspy voiced emergency hitting the hardwood, coming together to give you Lynx draft lottery reaction, surprise, emergency, all of the keywords. But the whole gang's here. We got Mitch Hanson, owner, founder of Hitting the Hardwood, also does pretty much everything for every website at this point for WNBA news. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing well, thank you. Appreciate it. That about covers it, I think. I don't know about everywhere, but we'll just say that.
I mean, you're like the Lynx guy at Canis. You're on Winsider. You're pretty much running all of Blue Sky right now for Lynx News, I think, at the moment, because I do not put anything over there. But we also got Terry Horstman here.
I'm on Blue Sky. I'm hanging on Blue Sky a little bit.
Blue Sky hasn't sucked your soul out yet.
No, it hasn't. It's interesting because I can see similarities of like 2014 Twitter currently happening on Blue Sky, which is still way better than 2025 Twitter. So I'm enjoying that part of it. But yeah, I'm on Blue Sky a little bit. I realized it was like 2 hours after the lottery, and then I realized like, I haven't posted anything on Blue Sky after the Lynx got the number 2 pick. But I knew we were going to do something like this. I knew it was going to happen. And when it was the wrong song initially, before we started going live, I thought it was the first note of Pink Pony Club, and I got really excited for a second. But no, I'm happy to be here. Lynx get number 2. Happy to dive into all things WNBA draft.
I don't know if it's like copyright infringed or not, but like the Plankton version of Pink Pony Club that AI created that might be stylistically different enough to where we can open up the Missing Lynx pod with Plankton singing Pink Pony Club.
I put Vitamin C's whole ass song on an episode of Lynx Happy Hour, and nothing's happened. So I know Chapel's a little bit more famous than Vitamin C at the present date. So it's a little bit more of a risk, but I think you could try it and then see what happens. Mm-hmm. And she'd probably just be happy for the additional coverage.
She probably would. I will say shout out B Dot, who does the Gophers MC, the Lynx MC. B Dot now does
B Dot's a legend.
And they're doing Pink Pony Club at every halftime now, and it was pretty tough at Marquette when they were up by 40 playing Pink Pony Club against T's alum in the barn, and it's just like, well, this is sad, but I'm wearing pink. We're all happy. Terry has a Lynx hat.
My face is
Mitch
pink.
has a Lynx shirt, I'm assuming. Don't correct me if I'm wrong.
Minnesota basketball, so it's generic.
It's everything, yeah.
And the Lynx have the number 2 overall pick. So I do see A Truckin bringing up some CBA talk. We will get into the CBA talk because that has been infuriating. But first, just Mitch, I'll start off with you. What's general reactions? Number 2 overall pick. Any insight into what you think they'll do?
I mean, it was kind of. That was expected. I think I wasn't really surprised to see that they got 2. I mean, every pick in the top 5 or for the lottery went as expected and as the odds kind of listed them at. So that point or that part is not or kind of shocking. I can't think of the words right now. It's too late for my brain. But I'm not surprised. I don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, there are some different mocks that have come out. It really, and this is obvious, but it really relies on what Dallas does. I mean, Dallas could go with 3 different players, I think. And that will kind of change the direction of what the teams following will do. That's obvious with, any draft, and that happens with any draft, but I don't really know if anybody. In most years, there's a clear number 1. Last year was obviously Paige Beckers, but usually there's a clear number 1. This year, it's not so much the case, and that we're saying this in November. It could certainly change by February or even March. There could be a clear number 1, but I don't know. I don't read into mock. We were talking about this offline. I don't read into mock drafts too much in November. Give me January, February. Then I like mock drafts, but they change a lot. So I wouldn't put too much stock into what they have right now, because like I said, there's a whole college basketball season ahead of us. But when it comes to the Lynx and what they might do, Andrew, you and I were talking about this at the beginning. It kind of, or before we jumped on, having Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann both at the draft lottery, to me, signals that they're both willing to be back, and that they're both going to be back. You don't just send two players that might leave to the draft lottery to represent your franchise. So for me, if that's the case, I don't think they go guard, and that being point guard. They could go off ball guard, somebody that could be kind of the predecessor to, or, kind of be behind Kayla McBride. But, if they're looking for something right now, I mean, I think they got to go one of those bigs, that being, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but Awa Pham, I believe, or Lauren
Spot
Betts.
on.
Okay, well, perfect.
Yeah, you nailed it.
I'm not a great pronunciator of international players. I apologize to all international players. But I think that if they're going to do something now for 2026, I think they go that route. But like I said, a lot can change between now and even February. So we'll see what shakes out.
First off, we have Emmy award-winning cinematographer / cameraman Vanshay Murdoch in the chat.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations. Every time I see you doing anything, I will be shouting you out until you're wearing that like T-Pain wears a clock. Truckin brings up, a lot of different directions they could go to, and it would be tough to see Alana Smith move. I do agree with you, Mitch. Like, I do think it'd be a really weird look if Court and T are the draft lottery reps, and then Court's playing for Vegas in 6 months. Like, that'd be weird. So I feel like they must have some inkling that, hey, we're going to be able to lock these two up. I still feel pretty strongly that Fee, K-Mac, and Lan are probably the three people I would pen in for, like, that's who I think will be back. That being said, there's not a ton of like 6'3" like forwards at the top of this draft. There's a lot of guards and a lot of centers, but you don't want to like reach. I really don't enjoy the people who are like, just take the best available talent and figure it out, because like objectively, I don't know how well that would work with the Lynx's system. But Terry, I do have a question for you first. Should the Lynx have sent a representative to get blessed by the Pope? I feel like that is all I can link to why Dallas got the first overall pick and the Lynx didn't, is that Maddie Siegrist went and got blessed by the Pope.
I don't know how much luck they would have had, given that we don't have a Villanova Wildcat on the roster. We don't have a Chicago native on the roster either, though. The Pope's Villanova connection and Cheryl being a proud Philly girl, they probably could have figured out something to talk about. So yeah, they probably should have, but I don't know if they would have gotten the same audience that Maddie Siegrist got. But I think it's fine. Though I was as I was watching the draft, as Mitchell kind of mentioned, everything was chalk, and we haven't had a WNBA draft lottery go chalk every pick since 2018, according to Across the Timeline. You could see when it got to those last two, Court kind of got, even I could see her eyes, salivating through the dope ass shades that she was wearing.
Yeah.
And just like clapping, doing everything. And I don't know. I think it's one of those drafts where like having the two is kind of just as exciting as having the one. Yeah. Dallas gets to pick first. But I don't even know, since like you guys have mentioned, and this has been part of all of the draft coverage so far, that it's not a Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, Leah Boston draft, where we know who the number one pick is going to be in November, even though it feels kind of ridiculous to say that in any year, as it does, now, because something crazy could happen. AZ Fudd could average 1,000 points a game for the rest of the season.
I'm just going to ask, and to me, reading the like coverage on this because I'm not an elite college basketball mind. I cover the Gophers and whoever.
Stay tuned for Mitchell's mock draft dropping tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's what I was working on over the last hour.
But like, to me, this draft and how it's being talked about is a lot like the 2020 NBA draft, where it's Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman, and it'll probably end up similar, where there's one really
Wiseman.
good player. One player that's out of the league in 3 years and one player that's fine and or problematic. Like, is that kind of the gist of what this draft is looking like?
No, I think that I really like all 5, potentially top 6, if you include Sny Latson in there, that are kind of like in like the mock draft community right now.
Mm-hmm.
I like Awa Fam. It seems like the type of prospect that, you know, Cheryl would really get excited about. They drafted a player who was turning 20 in their draft year last year, and doing that 2 years in a row would be, you know, a decision. But also Kevin Mitchel decided not to do that 2 years in a row. And if he did, the Timberwolves would have ended up with Kobe Bryant. So who knows? I think there's a lot of steady options, and that's why it's hard to kind of think of someone really separating themselves. And there'll be questions that we can answer for the next few months. That is kind of what's nice about the women's basketball calendar, is we get this draft order, and then, hey, we can actually watch basketball for the next 4 months, where in the NBA and the NFL, you kind of just relitigate everything that happened before you knew what the draft process was. And it wasn't, it's not actual games that factor into those things. So I think it'll be exciting over the next 5 months to watch these games and watch these players play. But I don't necessarily, I think it'll be similar maybe in 2020 in terms of there is a lot of ways it could go at the top going into the draft. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we go into April 13th with some uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a pretty strong top 5, top 6, and would be surprised if we see anyone who kind of flames out the way Wiseman did.
Boy, did he flame out.
He
played against
flamed out
with the Pacers this season, then got cut after the game, and that's the last he's had. So here's hoping. V Marie, good with number two team. Number 2 team desperately needs a point guard. She's feeling okay with Miles or Fam. Godfrey says Awa Fam. Gabby mentions that she has a gut feeling that Court might leave in free agency. I don't know. This draft lottery thing threw me for a loop, because every other team out there either had like a figurehead of a franchise or rookie contract. Well, you know, they're going to
not Seattle though. Gabby's not under contract either.
Oh yeah, but Gabby's coming back to Seattle, right?
Maybe. We don't know anything.
We don't know anything. I hate.
We first need a CBA to be able to know.
I don't think any Chicago Sky player, under contract or not, wanted to go rep the Chicago Sky on TV. So,
hey, they have a new practice facility.
They have a new practice facility.
Still a little irritated that
the same way that I have a book deal. Both things are equally realistic right now. Chicago Sky, you're not fooling anybody. I am very excited for All-Star Weekend in Chicago, though. Great selection, WNBA. You can do some things right some of the time. I feel like I thought the same thing when I saw that Court and T were going to be the reps, but I mean, it's an easy decision to make. They were in LA for the NWSL championship, and with the extension of the deadline, I believe it's still the previous, it's still like the current league year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still under contract.
Yeah. So it's easy to be like, oh, this must mean they're like coming back. But then if they both get, you know, crazy money, or someone's like, hey, T, come be the starter and play 32 minutes a night, the lottery memories could fade real quick. But it's at least a positive sign.
Yes. I'm going to throw us over to a quick ad read here quick. And then when we come back, quick ad read, two quicks. When we come back, I do want to start just talking about the main 5 or 6 prospects and where they might fit in with the Lynx. But first, Bills. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. .com hit barely over hits tonight. Van Shea says, based off of Lynx Twitter, Lynx fans do not want bets. Abby immediately follows up with, I would not be ecstatic about bets.
Can I
let's talk about Lauren Betts first.
Can I go first?
Yeah, Terry, go for it. What's your Lauren Betts take?
Well, I think there was a piece in Swish Appeal, shout out Swish Appeal, who I love, that said the Lynx should not draft Lauren Betts, which I think is a fine take to have, but also just difficult when also we have no idea who is under contract outside of Olakosu and Dorka Juhas, if either of them are part of the team next year. So I think let's be like, this was the way I approached my show on Friday too. Let's say hypothetically that the starting 5 and T are back. Let's just say those 6 players are coming back for the sake of discussion.
Dejanay starting 5 or BC starting 5?
BC starting 5.
Okay.
BC starting 5 and T. In that instance, I think Betts is probably not the most slam dunk hit, but just does a lot of things well. And I also think it was clear. Even we all love Masha. I think Masha could be back in any scenario. Even there's a potential that you could add Jessica Shepard to those 6 who I just mentioned as well. Even if you have both of them back, you still need another big for depth, because I think it was clear that while Alana Smith is one of the best post players in the world, co-defensive player with Asia Wilson. And I don't want to see, I think someone mentioned not wanting to see the team move on from Smith earlier in the chat. I don't want to see that either. Correct. But if you could have someone like Betts to spell Smith, because I think it was clear in that Phoenix series that Smith had just played too many minutes. Cheryl could do a lot of things. I don't know that Betts ever develops a 3-point shot, but don't forget that Cheryl coached offenses built around Sill and Brunson, and you could have a second unit around a big who doesn't shoot and just do a bunch of different things. And as long as she plays defense and rebounds and rim protects and buys in, it could still be great. And I think kind of the thesis of the Swish Appeal thing was you don't use the number 2 pick in the draft on a situational big, which I understand. But when you are a team with the number 2 pick in the draft, after having the best record in the league, and you have the number 2 pick in the draft because you just worked another organization in a trade, that you can do something like that that's just a little more sensible and not as exciting. So I'm not saying that Betts right now is my number 1 player, but it's like drafting a really good left guard who's just going to be on the offensive line for 10 years and be good. You're not going to notice. And it's because you don't notice them because they're not messing up and they're just doing important things. So if it is Betts, I understand a lack of excitement, but it could end up being really good for the team.
I think you said it perfectly at the end. It might be a lack of excitement, but it could be really good for the team. My big hesitation with Betts is from what I've seen, which again, I cover the Gophers. So the Gophers team, I can give you scouting reports on all of them, and they're a very fun team to watch. Everyone should go get tickets.
Right.
But I briefly review whoever they're playing the next time. So,
wait, do they get UCLA at home this year?
They do get UCLA at home this year.
Excellent.
And
we should all go.
There's going to be some good ones.
When do they play then?
My fear with Betts, as Mitch is looking up tickets before
I'm looking up when they play them.
We're gonna give away tickets to that game by the end of this episode.
Mitch is gonna have season tickets by the end of this episode.
There we go. Let's go, baby.
Right next to sponsor Nate Pence. We'll throw him in one more time. Anyways, my fear with Betts is the WNBA is trending the same way the NBA is with like everything coming offensively off of a pick and roll and like a second action, and defensively a lot of teams moving to switch heavy, fast, like just replaceable players. And that's the style the Lynx really leaned into the last 2 years. So if you bring in Betts, like 3 years from now, you have to have some inkling that she has some staying power in whatever the WNBA is going to be. Because like someone on Twitter, Tyler Ireland, brought up in one of my comments of like, you know, the Wolves went with double bigs when they brought in Gobert and zigged when everyone was zagging. And it's like, yeah, but Gobert was like a 3-time defensive player of the year and first ballot Hall of Famer. Lauren Betts is like an accomplished college kid. Like it's just different. So my hesitation is just like, do you bring in a situational player that might help you the next 2 years? But like she has to have something that puts her in like the modern era of basketball, whether that's being like 80% at the rim shooting, being like a generational defender, getting quicker on her feet, getting a 3-point shot. Like something has to happen. Mitch, I'll throw it over to you though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the points that you guys are saying too. The thing I'm kind of caught up on when it comes to that position, or just like the post position with the Lynx, we have to keep in mind Dorky Uhas is still around too. Not saying that they're similar players. Lauren Betts and Dorky Uhas are not similar players. I'm not saying that. But you know, let's say they bring back Dorka and maybe even Jess Shepard. I mean, that kind of crowds things quite a bit. Yeah, it adds to depth, which is something that they would need regardless. But, you know, at that point, let's say Dallas goes another route, they don't go AZ Fudd, do you do that and then, you know, kind of add to that guard group a little bit? Maybe you don't have a true point guard in AZ Fudd, but you have somebody that can play off ball, kind of like a Cale McBride, Bridget Carlton, whatever. So not to derail things, but that's kind of what I was thinking as you guys were talking, is that there's a lot to happen yet before, you know, they like, you know, let's say Jess Shepard does leave, Dorky Uhas stays overseas. Okay, now what do? You have to go big, I think, or you go into free agency and get a big. So that's where I could see, you know, Lauren, and
get Masha,
get Masha back next year, regardless.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with that position specifically too is what did Minnesota struggle with in 2025 playing against big teams? You know, they played Las Vegas, maybe not to the extent of like an Atlanta, but when they played Atlanta, they struggled with those bigs. Phoenix, they even struggled a little bit with being physical and in kind of inside. So that helps, and I know that's something that, you know, Cheryl thinks about, and, you know, being able to, you know, kind of battle against those teams and play situational or, you know, team by team, you know, kind of rosters and rotations. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I feel very similar to what I felt last year at this time, in that I don't know what direction they're going to go. But back to Terry's point at the beginning, there's a handful of impactful players at the top of this draft that, you know, they're definitely they're going to take a really hard look at. And I don't know. We'll see there's a lot yet to play out, obviously, in free agency, with the roster and just league wide, how that unfolds. And that'll play heavily on, or that will play a heavy, you know, factor or role in what the Lynx and the rest of the teams do at top of the draft.
Well, let's transition away from Betts, because I mean, I'll be honest, like I wouldn't be like eyebrows singed off shocked if the Lynx took Betts, but I'd be pleasantly, like, I'd be surprised. There'd be an eyebrow raised, and I'd be kind of wanting to talk to Cheryl about like what do you know that we don't, type of thing. You know, let's go into.
What does Cheryl know that we don't? How much time do you have?
No, I'm just saying, like, what's the thought process? Like, is there someone you know that isn't going to be returning on a contract? Is there someone that is like?
Well, we'll know by then, theoretically.
I mean, hopefully,
yeah.
They can do the draft without a CBA. No one can sign, and they won't be able to speak on their new teams, but they could do it.
God, if we don't have a CBA by April.
That's April 13th. Good God, man.
But let's transition into like the guards, and we can probably group all of them together and just say the guard position, because I think
Mhm.
the pushbacks on those and the benefits are going to be pretty similar regardless of who it is. I mean, T and Court, if they're both back, does it warrant getting a fourth guard in there, adding to K-Mac? I guess it would be like the Carly Samuelson type of, we just need more juice off the bench and a replacement plan for K-Mac. But the guard situation for me too, if Court and T are back, just seems like an odd place to spend a second overall pick. But Terry, what's your thoughts?
Well, just real quick, because we mentioned it, it is Wednesday, January 14th that UCLA is in town against the Gophers, preceded by USC on Sunday, January 11th. So just add those dates to the calendar, basketball fans. I think if
I have my season tickets.
this is what Mitchell, hey, you're welcome, University of Minnesota. Andrew and I will be expecting our like a gift card in the mail or something for that. I mean, technically we could say like what you just said, Andrew, about like if they hypothetically return most of the team or a big chunk of the team, or at least most of the starters from a team that had the best record in the league last year. Interesting way to spend a number 2 pick, because a team with a number 2 pick usually has glaring needs, and the Lynx will not, no matter how bad we want to say some of these needs are glaring. So you could plan for life after insert player here with any of these players. I think Olivia Miles would be really intriguing just because she's a different kind of ball handler than any of the guards the Lynx currently have. Both Court and T were, traditional 2 guards who Cheryl has, coached to play in the lead guard position and can play combo guard if need be. K-Mac can initiate the offense in a pinch. So I think Olivia Miles would be great in that role and would thrive under the tutelage of Cheryl and Lindsay Whalen. I would question the defense. Like every single player who we'll discuss from now over the next 5 months will have pros and cons. And I just don't know if you can see Olivia Miles as an elite defensive player at the next level, but can she be a good or even just fine defensive player at the next level? If she can be, then that playmaking, what she can do on, DHOs and the pick and roll and just general orchestration is probably worth it. So I'm pretty bullish on Olivia Miles. I plan on watching a ton of TCU for the rest of the year. She spent most of her career at Notre Dame, now at TCU, for those who don't follow the college game as closely. So yeah, I'm not, totally positive, and I like Fudd and Flauj a lot as well. I can let you guys talk more about them. But I think Miles slots into a spot that you could see at getting minutes this year with the current backcourt. If they say let's run it back, bring everyone back, try for one for the thumb with the same group, there are still minutes for a player like Olivia Miles. Not a ton, but some. And then also it's kind of a plan for, Courtney Williams is 32. Natisha Heidemann will be pushing 30. Do you want her as your lead guard after the season? I think it just adds some flexibility.
I like the idea too of having maybe Courtney. Sorry, Andrew, for cutting you off. Of Courtney
by all
Williams
means
playing some off ball too, with like you kind of have that dual point or dual guard, 2 ball handlers out there. And the reason I say that is because what does Cheryl love to do with what they have really over the last couple of years since Sylvia Fowles retired? They move the ball and they want to rotate that ball. They want to get things moving on offense. They want to run. When you have 2 guards like that, obviously that allows you to do that. Yes, you're going to be a lot smaller that way, but you're not going to be doing that. Odds are probably, as the starting lineup or anything like that. That's just kind of situational, but that is very intriguing. And I agree with you and Terry, into the point that, those 2, the stud buds are getting older, and you have to start planning. And you could kind of play that same game with Kayla McBride too, of, okay, who are you going to have slide in behind her? But I mean, you got to start planning for beyond that. And, the other aspect is Lindsay Whalen on the coaching staff, like you had said. That's something I know that, Cheryl and Lindsay will be talking about a lot is what they want to do with the guard position and how they want that to look. And there's no better, duo than those two to be leading that charge. So
they've won a few games together.
Yeah, they have just a few.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I'll just add, V Marie brings it up in this comment of like lost game 5 because the backcourt couldn't score. She adds at the end of her comment, Court and T aren't elite on D either. Okay, with one of the two, but not both. I mean, I do think with Miles, if you're looking at her and you're like, I don't know if we should draft her because of the defense, like Cheryl's system with Fee and Land behind you, I feel like is just going to naturally. I don't think I could be a good defender on a WNBA court because I am well past my prime and both of my knees are shot. But like you could probably put a stool out there, and just by like that stool not falling over would probably be a plus defender in a Cheryl system because like she just schemes these things so good. I mean, the other, AZ, we didn't talk about a ton so far, but AZ and Miles are kind of my two that I'm looking at of like those two at least. Miles, you're getting point guard of the future, theoretically. AZ, you're getting K-Mac replacement, maybe point guard of the future type of stuff. Like they fill that need, and then they're just going into the offseason theoretically the same way they were last year, where it's, is Masha going to be a good enough fourth big if Dorka comes back? Do they bring Jess? Like those conversations. But do either of you guys have any burning hot takes on AZ?
Just that I think AZ, maybe from a pure basketball standpoint, maybe just makes the most sense. Like shot 45,000% from 3 last year. It would just seamlessly fit into the team and might be the most useful player right away. So if it is kind of a run it back situation and you're looking at someone who you can plug in, she'll go in, she'll play defense, she'll be in the right spot, and she'll hit threes. I like Flauge a lot, just real quick, as she does. I'm not saying she's Dejanay 2.0 just like right away by any means, but has that similar game. I think Van Shea mentioned earlier that both Miles and Flauge get to the rim really well. I think you saw it in those regular season games that Dejanay, just a player who's just north and south head of steam, and just the type of things that can unlock in the offense. Flauge does a lot of like Dejanay light kind of things. So I'd be really interested to see what that looks like. So I think AZ is probably the most just like Lynx rotation, getting minutes ready player right now. I love putting things out like this publicly and just to allow Cheryl to prove us completely wrong.
Yeah.
But then I would put Flauge at number 2, like on that list, just because I think it's like, all right, that's what we envisioned with Dejanay, and there's a pretty realistic scenario that Dejanay gets a ton of money somewhere, and I hope all these players get a ton of money. As much fun as it would be for all of them to be back as Lynx next year, we know that's not going to be the case. So if Dejanay is one of the players that they can't hold on to, I think, Flauge does a lot of those things really well. And I mentioned this on my show on Friday. Accomplished rapper in her college career, and I would love the inevitable Flauge Bon Iver collab song, which would happen within a year at most, I would guess. So there's those off the court hopes too as well. This is a cultural podcast, so had to mention that. But yeah, I think that's the only more like burning things I had on either AZ or Flauge.
Mitch, I'll let you respond, but also I'll let you get the first crack at Awa too, if you'd like. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, to go back to AZ too, the one thing that I'm a little concerned about, I guess, is her injury history. I mean, she has a little bit of an injury history. That's something you got to keep in mind. I mean, to some extent, every player you got to be worried about you do have to be worried about every player's injury history, but with her, she has, she hasn't been as healthy as I think UConn would have liked her to be. And so that's something you got to keep in mind too. I do think if Dallas doesn't take her at number 1, I do think you have to take her at number 2. That's just my opinion. But if let's say hypothetically Dallas does take her number 1, I do like Pham at number 2 just for the potential. Yes, I know everybody's going to be commenting that the Lynx, it seemed like every year for the last 5 years, I've taken like a stash player, or that they've been developing a player overseas, and this would just be another addition to that. You're not wrong. I totally hear you. This seems to be a little different, and this player seems to be a little different, that maybe you're not coming in right away and making an impact right away, but maybe in a year or two when, I don't know, it could develop into something special. So that is something that I haven't watched really any of her play. So I can't speak to her skill set and what she can do. But just reading a little bit and kind of hearing what other people have said about her, it does seem like she's a very special talent. Obviously she's very young yet. So there's a lot of development just with her body and her play that has to happen yet. But I mean, if I had to pick a player, and if I had the choice of a player in this draft, I would love to get AZ Fudd, just for the that K-Mac. She reminds me of K-Mac and just kind of the role that she could play on this team. So that to me is exciting, or kind of intriguing. I know Paige Beckers is going to be literally begging for Dallas to take AZ Fudd with number 1. So I don't know how that's going to all play out, but like I said, if I had to choose, that would probably be my choice. But I mean, really, and I'm not just saying this just to, kind of a cop-out answer or anything, but really with anybody they choose, there's, like we said, there's 5-6 players that they're quality players. Anybody they choose has a spot on this team and can make a spot on this team. I mean, you could say, you can make a case for every position that it is something that the Lynx could use, and that's obviously any team, but that's something the Lynx could use, and I don't think you can really go wrong here. But there is one thing I know, that Cheryl is going to get about 2 hours of sleep from now until April 13th each night, because she is going to be scouting the hell out of these players. And whoever she chooses, I trust her more than I trust a lot of people. So they'll do their due diligence and make the right choice in April, hoping we have a CBA by then.
Well, let's talk CBA stuff, because I know that's come up a ton in the chat here, from A Truckin' all the way down to Godfrey is brought up, and V Marie. Everyone has brought it up. But first, we got to pay bills still. So Firehawk's coming in. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard, and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. So first, I'm just going to set the stage a little bit. I have noticed 2 things this offseason. The first is that the players have been pretty close to the chest about negotiations. Like, there hasn't been a ton of leaks or like cameras in the face, players off message. Like, it's been very like uniformed and direct ever since, Fee had her earth scorching end of the season speech. And then it's been like very on message from them. The other thing is the WNBA, I believe my count is at 4 times now, has leaked out what they are offering as max salaries. And it doesn't take a mathematician to do the math and see that it's like, oh, they're offering them like a 20% revenue share. That's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think they're miles away. Just my personal opinion based off of like how one side is very on message. The other side seems like they're trying to sway public opinion by like bad faith arguments. But Terry, Mitch, whoever wants to start, what are your kind of takes? Again, keeping in mind that it's November 23rd and they're going to have to extend the deadline again in a week if they want to keep the doors open.
We did hear that they're working very hard. We've heard that about 17 times throughout just the draft lottery tonight, that they're working very hard to make a deal.
They are working very hard. I noticed that and was just like, there are 5 active players just to the left of you. So I don't think we're going to get a dynamic soundbite here. I think something that has been interesting up until this was reported by the latest update, I think was reported by Alexa Philippou and ESPN. And that was the leaked numbers that you mentioned, Andrew. All that stuff was coming from the league side of things. That $1.1 million max salary up from the like $850,000 max salary that we heard about in October or something like that. And Alexa had the reporting that to the players this was a non-starter because it was still kind of the revenue share hadn't increased enough. But I will say, for there to be about 3 straight weeks and change, maybe a little bit more, of just silence, that's a good thing. In these situations, that's a good thing. I don't think it benefits any side to say like, oh, major progress has been made if they don't have a deal in place yet. So they're not going to say that. I would guess progress has been made, but there's still some pretty big issues. I'm probably maybe a little bit more optimistic than you, Andrew, but not by a lot. I don't know if they'll formally extend the deadline. It was interesting that both Chene and Rebecca on the broadcast tonight kind of made it a point to mention like these things normally happened in like December, January. So be patient, let everyone just like have a nice Thanksgiving without it. And I wonder where they like if they were pushed by either side, most like, the league, obviously, but like to make it a point, like don't freak out. And I even if the deadline lapses and it's technically a work stoppage in December, like I wouldn't totally freak out because these are things that can be dealt with. Like free agency didn't start until late January, early February anyway. You never want there to be a work stoppage, but maybe that is the fire that the suits on the league side need to be like, okay, we'll move the needle a little bit. So I know as much as you guys do and everyone listening, like I don't have anyone blowing up my phone telling me any, dirty little secrets. I would say it's been either silent or pretty polite on both sides since the calendar turned to November. And I do think that's a meaningful change from what we had seen. Yeah. So there's no like tangible way to measure how much progress has been made, but that is progress to me in just trying to read the tea leaves of this.
Yeah, Mitch, let's just go over to you. What's kind of your reaction been so far in November?
I do agree that the quiet phase that we're in right now is a good sign because if they were very far apart, they'd be very vocal. Especially, I think the players' side would be very vocal, as they have been throughout this whole process. But they're clearly working on it. They're clearly meeting. They're clearly working hard. We heard that plenty tonight. But I don't know. I'm not that confident that it's going to get done by November 30th. But at the same time, I 100% agree with you, Terry, of saying that like we shouldn't panic if it's not done by November 30th. Like what is there really to, happen basically until the new year? Like not saying that they would just have a work stoppage all December, but like if it's, a week or two beyond that deadline and there's technically a work stoppage, nothing really changes. I mean, there's nothing really gets impacted. So I mean, if as long as they can get it done by the new year, I think whatever is fine. But I don't know. I do think they're a hell of a lot closer than what they were. Even when we were approaching the first deadline, I do think that they're narrowing that gap. Now, that being said, it sounds like the gap was about the size of Target Center itself. But I don't know. I don't know what the latest of those conversations are. I too have not really heard anything. I don't think a lot of people have heard anything. But it's just kind of an unknown and kind of a wait and see game, which is hard for a lot of people to do, and because people want answers. Players themselves want answers, and I know the league wants to get this resolved so that they don't have to focus on this and they can focus on growing the league, the expansion teams, everything else. But all in all, everybody wants the same thing. They want an increase in pay. Obviously, that's going to be coming. It's just a matter of how much revenue share, salaries, all of that stuff. I do think these leagues, I saw a question about Unrivaled and the sustainability of that. I do think that Unrivaled will be around for a while, and I do think that it's putting a ton of pressure on the W, and that's a great thing. Same thing with Project B. You can you name it, overseas action. Everybody is getting paid more than what they get paid in the WNBA, and that's an issue. And that's something that thankfully the league has been receptive to. And hopefully they can actually just get across the finish line here. But if anybody was wondering or had any doubts, the league is working hard.
What I would just say, like,
spicy Mitchell. I love it.
I'm not pretending to know anything more than anyone else does. I've been texting, like, every once in a while, check in from like some writers from other markets and just be like, hey, if you heard anything?
Mm-hmm.
And what I have surmised is most writers, us included, can kind of point to two big issues that need to get resolved in this CBA. One is the non-compete. The WNBA firmly wants a non-compete clause, which means an end to Unrivaled and end to Project.
That's not happening.
I mean, if they want a non-compete clause, those salaries have to be way up there.
Yeah.
Which isn't 1.1 million. That's like 7 or 8 million, because some of these athletes are getting paid overseas and in these other leagues. And then the other thing is the revenue sharing, which if the league's at 20 and the players are at 40, it would seem logical that we're heading to a path where it's closer to 30, 35, and they do a short-term CBA and go from there. But those are, in my opinion, those are the two things that they would be stuck on the most, is just if the league really wants a non-compete like the NBA has, like, those salaries have to balloon. The other thing I'll say, just being around NBA people the last month and change, is there is a lot of confidence among NBA people that the WNBA is just like, they're not going to have a say in it. They're just going to have it figured out for them, because all of these private investors, all of these owners, all of these people that get that 60% chunk of revenue before the WNBA gets their share of it, a lot of these people have no vesting interest in the WNBA other than they just own a percentage, and they want that check to cash with the new TV rights deals. And even if you're a billionaire, you still want a $15 million check annually. And at some point, all of these rich people are probably going to just bully whatever ownership or Kathy or whoever it is into doing a deal, which that's my saving grace, I guess. If being a fan of basketball, I don't think there's going to be like a missed season or missed time, because at the end of the day, there's so many people that are investors in this league just to get their payout, that, like, how much power are 14 WNBA owners actually going to have when they don't even own the majority of their league?
Yeah. The other thing too that a lot of people need to kind of realize and maybe think bigger picture, because a lot of people are so focused in on 2026 too. Okay, we got to get this deal done. Players are going to get an increase for 2026, whatever. CBA deals are decades long. Like the players are thinking about this in 2035. You know, it's not just this year. So let's say the league continues to grow on this, you know, upward trajectory over the next, you know, 10 years. The players are in this same situation at, you know, towards the end of this CBA deal or this new CBA deal where, you know, they're in the same situation as 2025. They feel, you know, severely underpaid. They don't have the, you know, appropriate revenue share. So they're thinking ahead, which is great. I mean, that's what the players should be doing. That's what the Players Association should be doing. And I think a lot of people just need to realize that it's not just this year. The players, yes, they would love to get bigger contracts. They would love to get $1 million in a max contract, whatever it may be. But you know, in 2032, is $1 million going to be a lot? Is it going to be not enough? Like that's something we have to keep in mind too, because this league could continue to just grow like it has the last 2-3 years. And we're back in the same position at that time too. So it's like, I get caught up in that sometimes too. Like, okay, we're thinking about 26, 27, but we're also thinking about 2035, which doesn't feel like a real year, but it's, you know, that's something that everybody has to keep in mind. And that's what they're doing in these negotiations. That's why they're so far apart on everything too. But that's just, I'll get off my soapbox now.
It's also, I've been seeing a lot online of just like, well, why don't they do like a structured raise based off of like profits and margins that they hit? That's what the WNBA had in their 2020 or 2019 CBA.
Right.
And then COVID happened. So they actually went from 12% revenue sharing to 9.3%, then could never hit the revenue goals because they missed out on 2 full seasons of revenue. So like, that's why that is. I would assume if I was a Players Association person, I'd be very hesitant to make that type of deal with like global health scares that are happening every week. I wouldn't be dabbling in that. But Terry, we're at 52 minutes in the pod. Any last second thoughts for you? They don't have to be last second. They can be minutes long, in fact.
No, I think this has been a great hour of Lynx and W discussion. You guys said everything in regards to the CBA. Just get the goddamn deal done.
Yes.
League. I don't care how hard you're working. Put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, it's what we all need. We've got, you know, road trips and stuff to plan. We need a schedule for next year. So I'm glad we have a draft date and everything, but we need to see that schedule. We need to know that these games are happening, even as optimistic as we are. So get it done.
And in the
Terry,
meantime, go ahead, Terry.
Oh, Mitch, anything to add?
No. Okay. Sorry.
Terry, do you want to speak more? Please speak more.
I mean, you know, I'll always talk more. If you give me the leash, I'll keep going.
I was just going to say too, in the meantime, as we're waiting for a CBA, I just encourage everybody to, now that we're talking about these players in college basketball, just go watch them. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, you know, extensive. Just go watch their games, get familiar with their games. You know, it might be, if they're international, it might be a little tougher, but just go, you know, keep an eye on their stats, just see how they're doing. That goes a long way, and just kind of learning about the players and how they might fit into our roster, and just enjoy the college basketball season too, because it flies by really fast. And before we know it, we'll be approaching April, which
especially with Feast Week coming up. As someone who has often had a lot of odd jobs and worked non-traditional hours compared to business hours, the games during traditional business hours is something I always love. That's why I love camp days so much.
Yep.
But Feast Week, there's like banger matchups during the day. So yeah, Thanksgiving, everyone have a great Thanksgiving week. I don't think I'm assuming too much by assuming you'll probably get sick of your family at some point, get to the TV, watch some great college basketball. And yeah, there'll be games going like Thanksgiving at like 2 or the day before at like 9 a.m. You can find a game somewhere. It's probably like in the Bahamas or the Virgin Islands or Hawaii or something like that. But Yeah, so this is a great week for diving in to college basketball and your pre-draft scouting. So
Yes.
enjoy.
Gophers are playing Southern Florida in the Bahamas tomorrow at like 4 p.m. So
Hell yeah.
to your point, it's perfect. Godfrey, yes, Dorky Uhas is still gainfully employed by the Minnesota Lynx until there is a lockout, in which then I guess she won't be, but she's still on the team.
Hot take, Dorka plays. We see Dorky Uhas in a Lynx jersey this year in 2026.
I think so too.
That's not a hot take. I'm so mad at myself for saying hot
All
take.
three of us
before
agreed with
saying a
you.
normal
That's
thing.
That's
Hey.
lukewarm at best.
Random, not crazy at all prediction. Dorky Uhas will be with the team this season.
Speaking of hot takes, this is a completely left turn, but speaking of hot takes, we were talking about Feast Week. What are your guys' favorite Thanksgiving? Like, what's your top food on Thanksgiving?
I'm exceptionally boring. I'm just a ham guy, man. Like, I could just eat ham once. I don't need it multiple times a year, just once or twice a year, but I will eat it until I can no longer carry myself away from the table.
Okay.
Big mac and cheese guy. And I will happily devour all of the dark meat turkey that's on the table.
Okay.
But that, like, I gotta get a little bit of everything. But if we're doing a Thanksgiving food draft, mac and cheese would be my first round pick.
Mitch, how about you?
I would say green bean casserole is one of my favorite dishes.
So Minnesotan.
Yeah.
Or do you guys are you
your thoughts on it too, Mitch?
Have you guys ever heard of monkey bread before?
Yeah.
Okay. My aunt makes monkey bread, and she makes two, like, I don't even know what they're called, two loaves, two things of monkey bread, and I eat probably half of them.
I believe.
Barrels, yeah.
Monkey is
Monkeys do
by the
come in
barrel.
barrels.
Yeah.
But I could that's more of like a kind of a dessert to me. But I also do not really like pumpkin pie. That might be a hot take. I think it has a consistency of baby food, but
it does.
Give me all the apple pie and pecan pie that is inhumanly possible to put in my stomach.
I'm good with pumpkin pie, but my grandma always made a candy bar pie when I was a kid. So I love candy bar pie. That's just like Hershey chocolate and marshmallow in a very like buttery crust. It's everything the body needs, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I gotta have my like very chocolatey candy bar pie. I'll still, if I'm at your house for Thanksgiving, I will graciously accept a slice of pumpkin pie and not complain about it like Mitchell would. But
see,
I wouldn't choose it, but I would eat it.
Yeah,
I would eat it.
I adore pumpkin pie. I am hey, it's Friday night and I have nothing to do Saturday. Let's go to Walmart and get a $3.99 pumpkin pie and
really
Costco
and just like hammer down a $4 pumpkin, like the little like 4-slice pumpkin pies, just like because I have a night off.
People have pizza dates. Andrew just has pumpkin pie dates.
Here's the thing, boys. This is
officially
Domino's
58
of a podcast. So anyone that is for whatever God for.
Can I have half pepperoni and half pumpkin, please?
I am technically like deathly allergic to wheat. Like I took like a food intolerance test and it grades it on like a scale of like
to wheat, you said?
Yeah, to just wheat. No other like not gluten, but like wheat.
Okay.
The like protein in wheat that isn't gluten. I'm like technically like super allergic to. So like my idea of a good time, if I don't have anything going on the next day, because your guys will wreck the next day.
The PG-13 like rated
podcast. Just a 12-pack of donuts in like one sitting. And then it's just like, all right, I'll be dead for a day. I'll put on like 17 pounds of inflammation and then we'll be good.
Then we move on.
Yep.
That's a lot of donuts. And I love donuts, but
see, but when you can't eat them like all the time, you got to like binge because I'm forced to purge. And then I have to go without them for like a foreseeable future again.
But is there wheat in donuts?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Browsing.
monkey bread for me, Mitch,
The
would
monkey
be
bread.
I need nothing going on tomorrow morning to enjoy a vat of monkey bread. Godfrey adds one last thing here.
Keontae George.
4 points, 9 of 19 shooting versus the
Which is
Lakers.
more relevant than the things we've been talking about for 5 minutes.
Godfrey, since he has started listening to this, anytime someone involved in the Rudy Gobert trade is doing well, he chimes in. It's an awesome bit, Godfrey. I appreciate you. Everyone else,
That's
we're at an hour in
bit.
the pod here. If you came in late and for some reason you're listening to this madness,
Let us know your favorite Thanksgiving food, though.
Yeah, comment that. I think that would actually
Especially
be
if
interesting.
it's not a regular.
Yes.
I'm always interested.
Jay Shannon's favorite Thanksgiving side is French fries.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That is not what I would have expected.
At Thanksgiving is ham and French fries, and then peach cobbler.
Wow.
Now that sounds like a great Friday night.
Yeah,
It does sound actually really good. But
Where's
if
the
you came
pumpkin
into
pie?
this late, this will be a podcast that comes out tomorrow morning. That would be the 24th at 7 a.m. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast. At the Missing Links, I'm Andrew. That's Terry. Mitch is here as well. We are the Hitting the Hardwood Network. Mitch is the Hitting the Hardwood Network. Me and Terry are just working here, and we'll catch you all at the next Missing Links. We'll have Links content coming soon, hopefully with the CBA. But until then, catch y'all later.